Individuals and organisations wishing to become a registered training organisation, or RTO, must be registered with the Training Accreditation Council if they want to operate in WA. In this clip, we provide practical information to support your application if you want to become an RTO, on the documents and processes that must be developed before you apply, and how to submit the initial registration application to TAC. This practical information will support you and your organisation on the journey to becoming an RTO. The Training Accreditation Council, or TAC, is Western Australia's Vocational Education and Training, or VET, regulator. TAC is responsible for the quality assurance and recognition of VET services in WA and is established under the Vocational Education and Training Act 1996. TAC has responsibility for and can only accept applications and register training providers, or RTOs, delivering nationally recognised training to domestic students in WA only or in WA, Victoria and overseas. TAC does not register or regulate providers in WA which deliver nationally recognised training to students in states other than WA and Victoria or international students on a student visa. Providers in these categories fall under the jurisdiction of the National VET Regulator, the Australian Skills Quality Authority, or ASQA. Organisations thinking of becoming an RTO should in the first instance visit the TAC website, tac.wa.gov.au, for more information. The TAC website provides prospective RTOs with information that will increase their knowledge and understanding of the process for registration and guidance on meeting their compliance obligations with the standards for RTOs. These standards are legislated and must be met by all RTOs delivering nationally recognised training. The Becoming an RTO section of the TAC website provides a number of important resources, including a short animated clip titled Understanding the VET Sector, which provides an overview of the environment in which RTOs operate, information on the application process to become an RTO, a guide and self-assessment tool to assist with the application process, and resources that outline the obligations of an RTO when operating. The TAC education program includes professional development opportunities, guides, fact sheets, and podcasts that provide additional guidance material to support RTO understanding and compliance with the standards. Organisations wishing to apply for initial registration with TAC must comply with the following regulations, standards, and policies. The Standards for Registered Training Organisations, RTOs, 2015. The Vocational Education and Training Act 1996, other relevant state and Commonwealth legislation and licensing requirements, all policies issued by TAC that relate to RTOs, and demonstrate a thorough working knowledge of the VET system, including training packages and the Australian Qualifications Framework, AQF. Links to each of these documents can be found on the TAC website. To become an RTO with TAC, you must submit an initial application that requires the completion of two documents: the initial renewal of registration application self-assessment tool and application for initial registration e-form. The first document, the initial renewal of registration application self-assessment tool, must be completed prior to submitting your application form. This document confirms your organisation's readiness for audit and is a self-assessment of the organisation's compliance against the standards for RTOs. This document is available on the TAC website and will be explained in more detail shortly. The second document is the application for initial registration e-form, otherwise known as RTO 1A. This form is completed as an electronic form or e-form through the TAC portal, and to assist users to complete this form, TAC has produced a helpful guide titled The Initial or Renewal of Registration Application Guide. We recommend that you have a look at this guide to help you complete the RTO 1A form. To access the RTO 1A e-form, you will need to complete a portal access request form, available via the TAC homepage under Quick Links and appearing on the application's webpage. Please be aware that it can take up to 3 to 6 months from when you submit your application and supporting documentation to when you become an RTO. During this time, your application will be reviewed and an audit will occur. We recommend that you take these timeframes into consideration when submitting your application. Let's now turn our attention to the initial registration application self-assessment tool. The purpose of the self-assessment tool is to identify and organise the evidence you will present at audit and also confirms your organisation's readiness for the audit to occur. The self-assessment tool is available on the TAC website via the Applications page, which can be accessed via the home page under Quick Links. Before we look at the form in detail, I want to draw your attention to Section 9, the final section of the self-assessment tool. Applicants must use the TAC portal to electronically submit all documentary evidence in support of their application to become an RTO. Section 9 of the self-assessment tool includes a table that lists the supporting evidence to be provided with your application. You must record the electronic file or document name in the relevant section of this table. We recommend that you complete this table as you're working through the application form to ensure all the evidence is captured and recorded. Accurately completing this table in Section 9 will ensure the TAC Regulation Officer and Auditor are able to track the evidence you provide against the standards for RTOs. There is no set format on how you should provide the evidence so long as it is appropriate to the operations of your training organisation. We now return to Section 1 of the self-assessment tool to discuss the setting up of your RTO. Business viability is critical to the ongoing sustainability of an RTO. Setting up your RTO in line with business, financial and operating standards and staffing your business with people of integrity is key to successfully running your vocational education and training organisation. Anyone who manages an RTO, including executive officers, legally responsible officers, or owners, must satisfy fit and proper person requirements provided in the standards and the VET regulations and complete a declaration form submitted with the initial registration application. This declaration form is available on the TAC website. TAC will assess your organisation's financial viability as part of the application process. To assist with this determination, you will need to provide TAC with the following financial information with your application. Financial projections for the first 2 years of operation, including profit and loss statements, balance sheets, cash flow statements, and a statement of review by a qualified accountant. The statement of review, signed and dated by a qualified accountant, confirms financial projections have been reviewed in accordance with Australian auditing and assurance standards, including an opinion as to whether the projections represent a true and fair view of the applicant's future operation, the operations are sustainable during the intended period of registration, and nothing has come to the accountant's attention that causes them to believe that the assumptions used do not provide a reasonable basis for the preparation of the projections. The information requested in the application form is a minimum. However, the more information provided in your application, the more confidence the Council will have in assessing your organisation's future financial viability. Organisations intending to be an enterprise RTO are not required to submit any financial information. Enterprise RTOs are companies that only deliver nationally recognised training to their own employees. For further information, please visit the TAC website to access the Financial Viability Assessment Guidelines for the Registration of Training Providers 2017. Section 2 of the application form requests information on the marketing of your RTO. Marketing and advertising materials your organisation intends to use must be submitted with the initial registration application. This evidence will be assessed for compliance against the standards. Examples may include marketing on your website and social media platforms, hard copy or digital flyers, and any marketing material to be used by third parties to promote your organisation. You must also submit details of the RTO's process for ensuring marketing materials are always compliant with the standards. For more information on RTO marketing, access TAC's fact sheet titled Marketing and Advertising, as well as the recording of the TAC webinar titled RTO Marketing, available via the TAC website. Section 3 of the self-assessment tool considers the RTO's recruitment and enrolment process for prospective students. The standards require that students have access to accurate and comprehensive information in print, online, or orally that will assist them in making informed decisions about when and how the RTO provides training and assessment, RTO fees, and the terms and conditions of enrolment with the RTO. Information must be sufficient so that the students can make an informed decision about whether the course the RTO is offering is right for them. The application for initial registration must include the following information for review by TAC. All information to be provided to prospective students prior to their enrolment. A copy of the student enrolment form you intend to use, information you intend to provide students regarding fees and refunds, and if applicable, evidence of how the RTO will protect student fees if you intend to collect more than $1,500 in fees up front. Section 4 of the self-assessment tool covers the support services your RTO will offer to students. To confirm compliance with the standards, the RTO must demonstrate it has strategies and resources in place to identify any support needs students may have and the capacity or arrangements in place to support those students. A copy of the organisation's complaints and appeals policy must also be included in your evidence submission. Section 5 of the self-assessment tool examines the proposed delivery of your organisation's training and assessment. Engagement with industry is essential for ensuring that the RTO's training and student outcomes are industry relevant and reflect current industry requirements. To ensure this relevance, the standards require RTOs have ongoing engagement with industry. To assist in demonstrating compliance, RTOs should record their interactions with industry, including what was learnt and how it will inform training delivery and assessment. Evidence of this industry engagement must be submitted with your initial registration application. Further information on this aspect of the standards is available through the TAC fact sheet on industry engagement available on the TAC website. An RTO must have effective training and assessment strategies that describes how the organisation will deliver and assess the training product for their learner cohort. Your intended practice may be reflected in a single document or multiple documents that together form the complete strategy and address the different aspects of your training delivery and assessment. The training and assessment strategy may include a rationale for the amount of training the organisation will provide for the student cohort for each training product. However, if it isn't included in the strategy, then the organisation must submit the rationale separately. A process that describes how the organisation intends to monitor and improve training and assessment strategies and practices is also required. If you're applying to deliver an accredited course, you must submit written approval from the copyright owner to deliver the course and a copy of the accredited course document that includes the list of all units of competency or modules contained in the course. RTOs must employ competent and qualified trainers and assessors to deliver nationally recognised training products. The organisation's initial registration application must demonstrate that prospective trainers and assessors have vocational competencies to the level that they will be delivering, current industry skills, as well as current knowledge and skills in VET. Schedule 1 of the standards outlines the qualification requirements that trainers and assessors must hold. Once your organisation has been registered with TAC, all your trainers and assessors must undergo ongoing professional development, and the organisation must ensure a record of this professional development for each trainer and assessor is maintained. There are 2 fact sheets on the TAC website relevant to trainer and assessor vocational competence and industry currency and trainer and assessor regulatory requirements. We recommend that you become familiar with these to assist in meeting compliance obligations. Before submitting the initial registration application to TAC, the organisation must have access to facilities and equipment and have sufficient learning resources to meet the requirements of the training package. The organisation must demonstrate that they either own the training facilities, plant and equipment, have a lease arrangement, or a written agreement to lease these pending the organisation's registration. If the organisation is planning to conduct training at particular workplaces, a written agreement with each of the employers describing the conditions of usage is required. Learning resources, whether developed in-house or purchased, must be configured to meet your requirements and be ready for delivery for all training products identified in your application. The standards require RTOs conduct effective assessment that addresses the requirements of the training package, meets industry needs, and is conducted in accordance with the principles of assessment and the rules of evidence. All assessment tools must be ready for delivery for all training products requested in your initial registration application. You will need to submit a complete list of assessment tools for all training products in your application, a sample of your assessment tools for 2 units of competency from the highest level qualification in each industry area if applying for qualifications, or assessment tools for 2 units in each industry area if only applying to deliver units, and an RPL kit for either 1 qualification or 2 units of competency if only applying to deliver units. The sample should include any high-risk units if applicable. RTOs must also validate assessment practices, judgments and outcomes to ensure quality. The organisation must submit a validation plan with the initial registration application that identifies how and when assessment practices, judgments and outcomes are validated. Section 6 of the Self-Assessment Tool considers RTO completion documents and processes. The organisation's initial registration application will need to include certification templates such as statements of attainment, certificates if applying for qualifications, and record of results. The organisation must also provide evidence of a documented process for the issuing of certification. In developing the template documents, the organisation must ensure they meet the requirements set out in the Australian Qualifications Framework and Schedule 5 of the standards. Section 7 of the Self-Assessment Tool seeks information on the organisation's third-party arrangements. A third-party arrangement is when the RTO engages an individual or organisation to provide services on behalf of the RTO. These services may include training, assessment, related education and support services or activities related to the recruitment of prospective learners. Even if your RTO intends to engage the services of a third party, the RTO remains ultimately responsible for compliance with the standards in regard to any service provided to students on your behalf. The standards detail the RTO's responsibilities when engaging a third party, including document by written agreement the roles and responsibilities of each party, in particular, how compliance with the standards for RTOs will be maintained. Provide transparent advice to prospective and current students on the third party and what services they will be providing on behalf of the RTO. Provide students the appeals and complaints processes of the RTO. Ensure under written agreement the third party is aware of the requirement to cooperate with the vet regulator. Notification provided to TAC of a third party agreement within 30 calendar days. As part of the initial registration application, you must submit a list of all third parties with contact names, positions, phone numbers and the services they provide, copies of agreements with all third parties, strategies to monitor third parties, and completed RTO 3 notification of third-party agreement form for each third party. The form can be located on the RTO portal under the Application Forms tab. The RTO portal is explained shortly. Section 8 of the Self-Assessment Tool covers legal compliance and reporting. Whilst no evidence is required for this section, you may need to submit with your evidence for Section 5 trainers and assessors, working with children checks, police clearances, and any licences or evidence of meeting regulatory requirements if they are applicable to your application. Section 8 will ensure that your organisation has covered all legal compliance requirements in your evidence submitted for other sections of the self-assessment and is prepared for the reporting requirements once your organisation becomes an RTO. If there is any other evidence that is unique to your RTO in regards to legal compliance and reporting, this should be included in your application. This brings us to the end of the self-assessment tool. Once the organisation has completed the self-assessment tool and confirmed readiness for audit, the application for initial registration application, Form RTO 1A, can be submitted. Your application must be submitted via the TAC RTO portal. A link to the portal is available on the TAC website homepage. The TAC RTO portal is an online gateway to view, access and manage RTO data, applications and submissions to TAC. As mentioned earlier, to commence using the portal, you will need to complete a portal access request form so that an account can be created. The portal access request form is available on the TAC website by clicking on Application Forms on the home page. Once approved for access, you can use the RTO portal log-on button on the TAC website to start your initial registration application. Once logged into the RTO portal, click on Application Forms and select RTO 1A Initial Registration Application Form. Remember, it generally takes 3 to 6 months from when you submit your application to when you become an RTO. This is to allow time for your application to be reviewed and an audit to occur. We will now have a look at the initial registration application. There are 10 sections in the initial registration application. The requirements of each section is explained in the Initial or Renewal of Registration Application Guide, available on the TAC website under Application Forms. When completing the RTO 1A Form Section 6 titled Registration Details at the subheading named Delivery Scope, please ensure that all training products that your organisation is applying to deliver are included here. All training product titles and codes must be entered correctly, as applications that don't provide accurate information may be returned. Please be aware your organisation can't apply to deliver qualifications and skill sets from the Training and Education Training Package as part of an initial registration application. RTOs must hold continuous registration for at least 2 years before they can apply to add these products to their scope. Initial registration application fees are calculated based on the number of qualifications, units of competency and delivery sites the organisation is applying for. The organisation will be invoiced for the application assessment fee. The total application fee, including lodgement and assessment, is capped at $50,000. The $800 application lodgement fee is non-refundable and payable at the time of submitting the application. Once TAC has received the application and payment, it is allocated to a TAC regulation officer, and this will be the person that the organisation can speak to about the application and RTO status. The regulation officer manages the application and will be the contact throughout the process. Should the regulation officer determine that the evidence provided does not demonstrate your organisation is ready for audit, you will be contacted and further information requested. If the additional information is not received or still does not demonstrate that you are ready for audit, your application may be returned. Your application fee will not be refunded and you will be required to reapply. If the application does meet the requirements, you will be contacted by the regulation officer with further information regarding the audit. TAC has a panel of contracted auditors who conduct audits on its behalf. Once your application is received and assessed as meeting the application requirements, the regulation officer will allocate the application to one of the auditors. Before an audit occurs, you will be advised by the TAC Secretariat in writing that an audit will occur and the name of the allocated auditor. When the auditor contacts you to organise the site visit date, they may also ask for additional evidence to be emailed to them prior to the audit. The auditor will review the information provided with the initial application and any additional information requested to assist in determining any areas that may need further exploration at audit. This desktop review allows the auditor to reduce the amount of time required for the site visit and to concentrate on areas that need further clarification. Please note that the information that has been provided to the auditor via the application, such as assessment tools for 2 units, is only a sample. At audit, the auditor expects that the RTO is ready to start and that evidence for all training products applied for are available to be reviewed. More information on audits is available on the TAC website. Click on the Registration tab and select the Audits heading. Information on the audit page also includes a link to the webinar, Preparing for Audit. This webinar provides more detailed information about the audit process. There are a number of people involved in the audit process. The auditor may seek technical advice or expert industry advice to ensure that the organisation's training and assessment strategies meet industry, regulatory or workplace requirements. On the scheduled day of the auditor will come to your organisation. An observer may attend too. Observers are generally from the Tax Secretariat and usually attend audits for a variety of reasons, including where audits are occurring at a private residence or as a way of ensuring the correct audit process is followed and to guard against bias, error and omission by providing a third-party view of the site visit. The organisation can have whoever they wish to attend an audit. Sometimes organisations engage consultants to assist with the registration application and wish them to attend the audit. Please remember that during the audit, the consultant cannot provide responses to the auditor on behalf of the organisation or enter into discussions regarding the conduct, progress or findings of the audit, unless the RTO's legally responsible person has delegated the authority to the consultant. The audit will commence with an entry interview conducted by the lead auditor. They will introduce the audit team, outline the audit process and the anticipated schedule for the audit. Because no two people, business practices or providers are the same, the auditor generally has minimal knowledge or insight into the organisation's operations and is therefore reliant on you to provide clear and logical information about how the business operates. At this meeting, the organisation will be able to provide the audit team with a snapshot of your business. During the auditor will ask a series of questions and view evidence to ensure that the required systems and processes are in place and ready to be implemented. The focus of the audit will be to ensure you are ready to operate effectively as an RTO if you are registered. The audit will determine if you have a clear understanding of where and how you will operate, the structure of your proposed RTO, who your clients will be, and how you intend to implement the strategies proposed in the short and longer term. There is no set way in which evidence is to be provided to the auditor at audit and can be electronic, laptop or projector, or in hard copy. During the audit, if it is determined that your application does not meet one or more of the standards, the auditor will discuss the gaps in evidence that you need to address to become compliant with the standards. The auditor will also inform you of the next steps in the process and answer any questions you may have. Auditors cannot advise, consult, or provide an opinion on any aspect of the provider's business, including staff or clients, unless these are opportunities for improvement to be included in the audit report. The audit will conclude with an exit interview with relevant staff. At this meeting, the auditor will provide an overview of the audit findings and allow you the opportunity to ask questions. The auditor will also explain what happens after the site audit and provide you with information about how to dispute the audit findings if you disagree with the findings, or how to lodge a complaint with TAC. If the organisation doesn't demonstrate compliance with the requirements of the standards, auditors will assign an overall level of non-compliance. This level of non-compliance is recorded on the report. The levels of non-compliance are outlined as minor, significant, critical. The auditor will provide the Tax Secretariat with the audit report within 10 working days. On receipt of the audit report, the Council will find the application non-compliant and provide 20 working days for your organisation to submit evidence directly to the auditor in response to the audit findings. In cases of higher levels of non-compliance, significant or critical, the Council will also propose to reject the application. This report will be sent to the legally responsible person and will provide information on identified non-compliances. It is up to your organisation to determine what further evidence you'll submit to the auditor to demonstrate compliance with the standards. The additional evidence should be clearly referenced, indexed, to assist the auditor to understand which standards clauses the evidence is addressing. Once the evidence has been received, the auditor will review and provide a response to the Tax Secretariat within 10 working days. Where non-compliances still remain, the Council will make a decision to either provide additional time, reject the application, or apply sanctions. TAC will not approve your application for initial registration while non-compliances remain. If you have demonstrated compliance at audit, the audit report will be tabled for consideration and approval at the next monthly meeting of Council. Once approved, TAC will send you correspondence advising you that your application has been approved with a registration period of 2 years. The correspondence will include a certificate of registration. Your RTOs details will also be published on the National Vet Register, www.training.gov.au. 4 months before the 2-year registration expires, you will be required to submit a renewal of registration application to maintain your registration. The re-registration period following will be for up to 7 years. This concludes our information on the initial registration application process. So to recap the process, apply for access to the RTO portal. Prepare your application by ensuring your RTO is ready for audit by completing the self-assessment tool, and document and collate your evidence. Complete and submit the application form on the RTO portal. Once your application has been submitted, you will receive a confirmation email. If your regulation officer requires more information, they will contact you. Otherwise, you will be advised of the audit details. If at any time during this process you require further information, you are encouraged to visit the TAC website at tac.wa.gov.au or email the Tax Secretariat at tac@dtwd.wa.gov.au to book a meeting with a regulation officer or attend the next Becoming an RTO webinar.